So I feel like the Lord wanted me to get on YouTube and make like a longer video about this. And kind of just like the theme of this video is like humility, and like what does humility mean? And kind of this like, it's this heart, the heart of the Father that wants to reframe these things for you, right? Like it's not, humility is the leveling of your pride or the pointing out where you're wrong, right? The correcting your behavior. Oh, you were acting too prideful, so I'm gonna humble you. I'm going to embarrass you. No. He doesn't correct from a behavior level. He corrects from a misidentification place. So you are still identifying with your pride. And that being, you can look at it as you're identifying with you taking care of you. And you're only identifying with that because that's all you know. So it's really, you're not to blame. You're not to blame for the darkness in your life. You're not to blame for where you are in the darkness, right? You're not to blame for your ignorance and where you're blind. That's just the whole pride thing. That's just that's just all hype. That's the enemy wanting to come in and accuse you and say, oh, you should be further along by now. But that's not the way the Lord works. He says, no, I have you blind. No, I have you in darkness, but I'm concealing you in darkness. I have you in this place. And part of humility is receiving the perspective of God, right? His perspective of who you are. How he sees you is who you are. His unconditional love for you is your identification. You see, but unconditional love comes in and it's like a wrecking ball. It's like a consuming fire that doesn't stop until it burns everything up that's not necessary. And what goes is the pride. And so humility comes in, right? That loving correction, because he corrects those that he loves. But he's not correcting your behavior because you're acting bad. We only see it that way because we still identify with our pride. We still think that what we do is who we are. So if we sin and we commit these sins or whatever, then this is who we are. Then he comes in and he corrects us because he doesn't like sin, right? It's like, no. Sin starts from your mindset. You identifying from a place of lack. You having this identity that is, you must bring something to yourself to be complete. This is where pride has a way in the door, because it's now you taking care of you. And then this is ironic to me, because we can get frustrated and be like, well, I should have saw that. I should have been able to know these things. And it's like, you would say that because you're still identifying with you taking care of you. And it's his love that comes in and humbles you. But it's not to correct your behavior, not to say you were doing this bad and you need to come and do this good. No, it's this, you're still identifying with you. You still think that I'm not here to for you to depend on me, for you to receive from me. You don't know how much you're held up by me. You don't know how much you were taken care of by me. It's this, you can't have humility without getting the fatherhood of God and his parenting. Because you were never meant to have a way outside of his way. That was only created because you thought you had it. You thought you needed it. But it's okay, because it's not your fault that you're blind, right? And this is where the perspective and the timing of God specifically comes into play. There was always a time for you to not be able to see. There was a time for you to be in the dark. And then there's going to be a time where he brings you into marvelous light. It's not on you. You could have never got there quicker. And this will level the pride, because the pride is fed constantly by this, or needs to be fed constantly by this idea of you looking after you, and you being able to bring things to yourself so that you can be recognized, so that you can be validated. But this is just an inferior way of, this is just you settling. Because the reality is, like, that's not a bad thing. Like, this need to be seen, this desperation to be validated, right? The pride having a place, it makes sense. But it's just an inferior way, because you were made to be seen by him. You were made to receive his perspective. You were made to know how he feels about you and who you are to him. And this to me is humility. We take humility and we say, oh, it's the leveling of pride, or this is what it is. But we have just attached these things that just don't go together. The effects of humility is the leveling of pride. But the leveling of pride only hurts because you're identifying with pride. And part of the humility is him realigning you to who you really are, bringing you into alignment to who you really are. And this love coming in and saying, oh, there's no need for this anymore. There's no need for this special room in your heart where you were trying to validate you, where you feel like you have to parent yourself. I'm blowing this away, because this entire operation only exists because you're trying to get me to see you, because you're unaware of how much I see you. But at the right time, I'm going to come in and show you just who you are to me. It's going to be my timing, because you must be prepared. You must be prepared for the weight of his gaze, because it's all consuming. It puts an end to the pride and the ego and all of that, all those schemes and motives and things in the darkness that were never you. It was just ignorance. But humility is receiving the grace, I guess, for his perspective, which is you are right where you're supposed to be. You are as you ought to be. You are as you ought to be right now, even with all the things that are going on with you. It doesn't matter anymore, because the spotlight isn't on you in that way. Like, he is the only one in the audience, and he's always cheering you on. He's never disappointed. He's never worried. He's never like pulling a Hail Mary and saying, oh, well, this is the last shot for this person. No. The spotlight isn't on you, as in you were not to be inspected. You were not to be inspected in this way of accusation and finding something wrong and something that you need to be aware of and something that you need to correct. No. All of that is wrapped around pride, the ego, self-parenting. And he's like, no. I must correct this thinking that you have. But it's not because you're doing something wrong. I'm not correcting your behavior. I'm coming and I'm hitting you at the roots to show you that you don't need this in your life anymore. I allowed you to have this in your life for a time because I was preparing you to receive me, because I was preparing you to receive the weight of my gaze. Like, what is that? What do I keep saying that? I don't even quite know. It's like the awareness of his eyes on you at all times, but the delight in his eyes, where you just walk around and you're just like, he loves me, he loves me, he loves me. I can't believe how much he loves me. You can't think of anything else. You can't think of being offended by anybody. You can't think of other people at all in any kind of way that you used to before, because there's no longer a competition, because the weight of his gaze has eliminated all need to look at other people, because you would only look at other people because of this mindset that you have of lack, that you are not measuring up according to blah, 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 because this person's over here and this person's higher. All of that just started from a mindset of lack, and he just comes but he must prepare you for it. So humility does come with like a leveling of pride, but that's not what it is. It is his fatherhood demonstrated, becoming known in your life. Not because you're a bad child and you need to be corrected to be a good child. No, but because you are a lost child. You are a misplaced child. At least you think you are. There's the delusion that you think that you are far away, that you're not home. And he's like, no, you've been with me the whole time. Let me correct this delusion that you have. Let me correct this misidentification that you have. Because humility is his fatherhood showing up in your life. And it can look like you missing something. It can look like you falling short with something. And this is where we've identified humility with. And that's just the effects of humility. Humility is his loving fatherhood coming into your life and saying, you don't need to do this anymore. You don't need to see this. Like, you don't need to be aware. You don't need to worry about tomorrow, but I understand if you do. I understand where you are. It's not about self-improvement. It's not about how long you can stay up. It's not, I'm correcting you so that you can do better next time. It's not about that. Humility is the fatherhood of God becoming known in your life. It's that correction. And it comes with this dismantling. It blows up the pride, because it shows that the pride was just really an inferior way of living anyway. And you were always made for so much more. So humility always comes with honor. You're right where you're supposed to be because he has you. You're right where you're supposed to be because he knows what he's doing with you. All of this in your mind where you feel like you're gonna miss it and everything, that's just your pride just like suffocating to death, because it's just not you. It's the shackles being broken off of you, because greater freedom is coming for you, independence upon him, and not this you trying to like make him proud, or you trying to work for him, or your calling as it relates to what you're gonna do on this earth. The focus is not on that anymore. It's so much higher than that. You're just gonna be in the tailspin of back and forth dancing with him, of just like, he loves me, I love him, he loves me, I love him. And it's gonna be this effortless thing. That's what's for you. That's what's coming to you. It's gonna be worth it. It's all gonna be worth it.